The civil service exams, the mind, all you could think of was, that's for me. And then came that trip to the airport when you watched the big planes come in and load up and take off. Those were the day planning. Plans then didn't consider the importance of traffic control or safety research or better weather information. Only the glamour of the cockpit, and there was plenty of that. That's what was important to us then. We would be the pilot. Somebody else would be the passengers and the hostesses and weathermen and engineers. We would do the flying. We liked to think then that we would do something exciting, something that took courage. Maybe in those early years, you were inspired by the sight of the policeman on the corner. You were going to be a U.S. Marshal or an FBI agent who stopped a bank holdup or caught public enemy number one. Today, you know there's much more to police work than carrying a gun and wearing a uniform. You know that the science of crime detection and the social science of crime prevention are far more complicated than we could imagine. That was when you were a child in elementary school. Today, the high school is the center of your life. It may be a rural school, a central school, a suburban school, or a city school. No matter where, your ideas now have changed a little. Let's take a look at your high school and your new ideas at the high school level. Here, you're beginning to think seriously about how you're going to earn a living. As your guidance counselor has told you, your planned career may involve college. You've entered high school with dreams of a career in your chosen field, and you'll be leaving it ready to prepare yourself in the college of your choice. Are you really going to be ready for college? The college campus is still only a dream, an important part of your future nonetheless, but still a dream. Right now, you may not even be certain you wish to go to college, but then you may be interested in a career that requires college. What do you know about the college in your future aside from its campus? College life. Certainly that's important to you. The freshman camp during the freshman orientation week. The friends you'll meet. The girlfriend or boyfriend you may be dating. The romance and the social life of these college years are bound to enter into your thinking now. There'll be the fraternities and the sororities. And then, too, maybe in looking ahead to taking part in college life, you're thinking about participation in college athletics. You may lie awake at night dreaming of becoming a football hero, hearing the cheers in the stands, or seeing yourself as a cheerleader, or as a shortstop making that all-important last out for your victorious team. It's true that colleges want people interested in extracurricular activities. Future leaders already demonstrating their leadership in their well-rounded personal program of activities. But college is much more than this. Closing door of the crowded college. 25 years ago, 1 in 12 high school graduates entered college, and they could pick the school of their choice. Today, 1 in 3 high school graduates go to college. What does it mean? It means you're competing for admission to the school of your choice. Let's go for a moment to the offices of the college admissions directors and get the word from the people who know. The admissions people are a lot more choosy today than they were a few years ago. And when you're interviewed by the admissions counselor, he's going to take a long look at your high school record to see just how well you measure up when compared with other high school graduates. The college campus may be your goal, those beautiful buildings, those intriguing courses, the wonderful libraries, and the great laboratories may beckon. But can you realize your dream? The competition is growing keener all the time. The admissions people want to know not only that you have good grades, but that you've taken the subject they think you need to get the most out of the 4 years you're going to spend there. So right now would be a good time to examine your high school program. Let's look in on Joe Hicks. He's a high school student like you, and he's faced with the same problems. We went to the administrators of colleges, to the persons who know what the colleges want of Joe, and we found some answers that can give you a head start in the race for admission to college. Now Joe, perhaps like you, doesn't know what he wants to be, but he has his dreams. More and more now he's thinking of the future, and perhaps the life of a lawyer is for him. A lawyer leaving his plush office in a new office building for another interesting day in court. There is lots of excitement in that prospect. The drama of the courtroom, the debate, But there's more to it than just the excitement of the courtroom. This day in court represents hours, days, perhaps weeks or months of skilled work in the office, preparing his briefs. And as is the case with most lawyers, this man carries a good deal more in his head than he does in his briefcase. In the courtrooms of the world that needs him in a continuing struggle to bring fair play into the lives of all of us, he sometimes stands alone, and yet not quite alone. He enters the courts of law with the backing of long years of gathering into his mind the precepts of government as it evolved from the tablets of Hammurabi, the law of the Romans, the Magna Carta, and the Napoleonic Code, right on down to the most recent decisions of the Supreme Court of the United States, or the latest city ordinances against noise in his town. It is here in law school that Joe must become aware of the many facets of his profession. In these buildings, he will study the famous cases that faced the judges of yesterday. But entering the law school is a problem in itself. Joe must have the proper background before he can be admitted to study law. The Association of American Law Schools says that before you enter law school, you should first go to a college offering a liberal education for pre-law students. It says, education of a student for a full life is far more important than mere education for later professional training and practice. But why, Joe wonders, why do I have to take all those subjects like literature and science? I'm going to be a lawyer. Well, the association tells us that it's important for the pre-law student to develop skill in comprehension and use of words. And then it's not too hard to see that researching Shakespeare is not too far removed from digging facts from the United States statutes for an important brief. The Law School Association says that when you come to the law college, you should be able to show not mere accomplishment in memorization, but an accomplishment in understanding, the capacity to think for yourself, and the ability to express your thoughts with clarity and force. When you receive your bachelor's degree from college, as a step toward entering law school, you will have command of your nation's history and its philosophy of government, its language. You'll be acquainted with science and the problems of corporations in the age of science, as well as the science of blood tests, ballistics involved in crime detection. These are the courses you will have completed before applying to law school for admission. These are your goals in the pre-law course in the college of your choice. But first things first. First, you must get by these college gates. You must pass the requirements of the undergraduate college for admission before you can begin that pre-law study. And how will you get on this campus? When, like Joe, you pull out that application form, you should be certain that you have all the breaks you can make for yourself. You should be off to a running start with mathematics, algebra, and geometry, a lab science, biology, chemistry, or physics, literature, as much as you can take, the plays, the novels, the poetry. A foreign language is required for admission in 85% of the liberal arts colleges. Latin, not required, is always helpful. And of course, history. The climb from high school to the courtroom is neither short nor easy, but you can make it easier by taking the right courses now. Yes, it's a great dream whether you ever go on to law or not. And what was true about pre-law is also true of the student preparing for theology, medicine, dentistry, public administration, diplomacy. All these fields require a 4-year undergraduate degree before you can enter the graduate school, which specializes in training you for one of these professions. And then, perhaps, the space age is calling you. And you just can't get those dreams of this new era of satellites and rockets out of your mind. And you don't want to. Today, it's the armed services that are applying our new knowledge to build our defenses. You may want to go to college to prepare for a position in the development of these new machines of defense, or you may wish to go directly into these services. Either way, you will need to know your mathematics before you'll be trusted with these marvels of a new age. These may be weapons today, but tomorrow these same men may be fueling our first ship to Venus or the moon. They may be harnessing cosmic energy for our homes and our factories. These Army officers had the good sense to prepare themselves for the space age. The man who pushes the button that fires these guided missiles is just one of a group of thousands who worked on their development. Engineers, technicians, writers, executives, all of whom had to know their onions, and that meant chemistry, physics, math, biology, English, and foreign language. There's a lot that goes into the making of a scientist, and the men and women who are involved in the systems we use to develop the machinery are, for the most part, people who had the imagination to see what was ahead and the foresight to prepare themselves for a space age. The opportunities that lie ahead in astrophysics, chemistry, nucleonics, metallurgy, plastics, radiobiology, and other fields yet unborn are there mostly for people who are still in high school, like you. It takes time to understand the machines of a space age. It takes time to make a scientist. And the world is crying for more men of science to unravel the mysteries of the stars, to defeat cancer, to remove salt from the sea waters which can irrigate the deserts of the world. Every course you take in college will be vital, and you'll desperately wish you had time for still more. And fellows, don't think for one moment that science is a man's world. It was Madame Curie who opened this atomic era with her discoveries about radium. And today, one company has even set aside one scientific building run entirely by women employees. Other companies, hospitals, and colleges are searching for the keen minds of women scientists. Yes, it takes time in college classes to become a scientist, and you'll find that you just don't have enough of it. Do you know that right now you're in a position to gain 1 year? If you take the right courses now, you'll be exempt from certain college courses and can start work in these laboratory courses a year earlier. Have you planned on at least 2 years of a foreign language? If you have, you'll be required to take 1 less year in college language and can take a science course in its place. The scientists today should be able to read in technical journals of the latest discoveries by Frenchmen, Russians, Germans, and others. And yet today, thousands of articles in these technical journals lie untranslated in our libraries. Remember, jet engines, rockets, penicillin, and radioactivity were first discovered in other countries. Then, too, you can save time in math and physics. If you've had these math courses in high school, you've actually gained 1 whole year of advanced college work in your future planning. But perhaps you're not certain your future lies in science. You find, like Joe here, that your dreams are drawn to the excitement of the business world, the world of commerce, with the shipping of the world passing through our harbors, the world's greatest network of railways meeting those ships, and more than 20% of our employable population working in the transportation industry, or the world of investment, brokerage, banking, the financial structure on which our entire society hangs. And there's retailing with the administration of the big chain stores, the grocery stores, automotive sales, all needing leaders, the insurance field, or perhaps you'll be an independent real estate broker. Or perhaps it's big industry itself that calls you. Steel, the automobile industry, aluminum, the aircraft industry, machine tools, plastics. Millions of Americans are working in industrial enterprises today. But their production, their very jobs and welfare, are in the hands of the business executive who understands the intricacies of the business world and all that it takes to keep the wheels of industry turning. These millions of Americans depend on the head office to decide whether to spend the money for a new plant, when to expand production, when to change models. Let's go inside the executive suite and watch the man who knows how to run a big business. The decisions men like this must make in administering our far-flung enterprises, with responsibility for the destinies of thousands of workers, demands an ability in decision-making involving sometimes millions of dollars. The lives and fortunes of people in all branches of his factory are in his hands. They come to him for leadership. This is a good deal more than just sitting at the desk. Unlike the merchant or businessman of 50 years ago, who could get by with simple arithmetic on his counter without even a cash register, today a man going into the steel or insurance business or entering a banking house will have to go in with a knowledge of mathematics of finance. This course, required today of college majors in accounting and business administration, requires at least 2 high school algebra courses before you can take it. The admissions offices of your colleges will look for that in your record. How about you? Will you be just one of the crowd, just another man in the street? Or will your dream take you to the top in the business world? And once again, fellows, don't think you've got this business world tied up for yourselves. Not only have women become senators and judges, but they now run publishing houses, brokerage firms, they edit magazines, they head real estate firms, they buy for department stores, they design our clothing. Today and tomorrow, more and more important decisions are to be made by women. But let's look at all this from a different angle. We've looked at the professions. Now let's go back to the high school and look at the courses you're taking. In high schools all over the country, you'll hear students ask, "Why do I have to take a foreign language?" Do you realize how much of our American way of life depends on our overseas trade? Some years we export half the cotton, almost half the tobacco, and almost 2/3 of the turpentine we produce. It's with this money that our southern states buy automobiles and refrigerators from our northern factories. Ships have carried half our locomotives, 1/3 of our motorcycles, and 1/3 of our office machine production to foreign markets. Our tourist trade is important too. France, for example, has for some years paid for 1/4 of its imports with the income from American tourists. These ships in the Thames in London, England, are unloading American goods. Today, in Venice, young American women are buying the world-famous of Murano and Burano for the department stores they represent at home. How'd you like to tour the Mediterranean each winter as a buyer? A vacation and a job all rolled into one. Or perhaps you've noted the trade with the Netherlands in diamonds, or the lucrative tourist agency business. But will you be able to speak the language of these people? To write a business letter in French or German or Spanish or Italian? Today, it's a sorry businessman who tries to dabble in all these rich markets without a knowledge of at least one foreign language. If diplomatic or foreign service is in your future, get a language now. For every 2 years of high school language, most colleges will exempt you from 1 year of college language. A year's jump on your college courses. A year to get something more out of college. This woman in the red coat is a foreign correspondent for an American newspaper, traveling overseas like this, at ease in the very hottest spot of the crisis-ridden world today, Algeria. But let's consider this. What use would she be to her paper if she spoke no French, could get no word of opinion from a single Algerian? Then today, lots of high school students ask, why history? The answer? Because you can't get into college without it. In this day and age of political crisis, calling for so much of our energies to ward off war, no matter what you choose, from engineering to journalism, your college will require some sort of history course, usually in your freshman year. You should understand your government and its heritage from the Western world. And if diplomacy is your field, you may end up right back there where democracy was born, in the halls of the British government. Or perhaps you'll work in the City Hall, or even the Congress of the United States. The need is great for city managers and other competent municipal officials. Even the city engineer or health officer must understand the principles of government and economics. History is not just a study of the crumbling past of ruins and long-departed kings. The colleges believe it vital today. They believe the study of political and social developments of other times, applied to the problems of today, give us the best idea of what will happen tomorrow. The world has gone through some bitter times, and when we stop looking back, we'll have to give up also the hope of preventing the misery and bloodshed, the depression and hunger that face us every once in a while. Then, too, they ask, why so much emphasis on English? From billboards to engineering reports, the ability to express yourself correctly is the key to success. And advertising can be much more complicated than billboards. One major automobile manufacturer recently advertised wanted 25 men who can correctly write the English language. Television has become an increasingly important medium in advertising as well as in entertainment and in the presentation of news. Whether you write news, short stories, advertising copy, dramatic skits, engineering reports, sales analyses, or tax audits, you've got to know your language. And the printed word, be it newspaper, magazine, or book, is the basic tool of success. You must be equipped to handle it well. You'd better begin polishing up on that reading right now. Whether you're hoping to make the college newspaper staff, with your first thrill as a reporter, or as a rewrite man, or as an editor, or layout man, or someday expect to be working in a radio newsroom, you'd better get your word skills in good shape. Words are the backbone of this business and of most business. Here in a college language laboratory, you see a professor preparing recordings for the foreign language classes. Remember, 85% of the liberal arts colleges require foreign language, and you can't expect to know German, French, or Spanish grammar if you don't have your English grammar in shape. And then there's the big bonus. All colleges require English composition of their freshmen, but you can take an examination when you arrive on campus, and if your English is good enough, here is one more course you can skip in order to start more advanced work in your chosen field ahead of most other students. That's the word from behind the door of the college admissions man. That's why you take high school English. Now, we've already talked a great deal about math, how you can get at least 1 year jump on other students in engineering and science and pre-medicine if you've had all these courses. Now, naturally, the engineer must have his math, but do you know that most all colleges require a laboratory science somewhere in your 4-year college program, regardless of your major, whether you're going to operate a surveyor's transit or preach from the pulpit of your church? And all lab sciences require at least algebra and usually plain geometry. Are you ready for these required college science courses? Or must you waste a year at college taking non-credit high school level mathematics after you get there? These are accounting students. They're using math. They need it for psychological statistics, accounting, and market research. And more colleges are even turning down applications from students without math. Yes, even the musician who makes a study of the physics of acoustics finds mathematics a necessary tool. We've also discussed science for the scientists. But what of you other students who don't expect to major in science? This is a biology laboratory in an Eastern college. Not one of these students is a science major. Now, some experience in the scientific way of thinking in a high school course is a lifesaver here. Any science. It doesn't have to be the same one you're going to take in college. And of course, those of you planning your future in medicine or dentistry must constantly live with science. Nurses and medical technologists in these efficient new hospitals must know chemistry and biology. Pharmacists study physics, math, 2 years of chemistry, and 3 years of biology. Even the criminal lawyer should know something of the processes of science in crime detection. Maybe you think you won't need these courses because you're going into a new field, not yet quite a profession, a field like television. And if you think you won't need the basic courses, you're making a mistake. The successful broadcaster needs as broad a background as possible. Think of the wide by this powerful force in American life. How can a newsman analyze current events without a knowledge of history? The dramatic actor's talents are augmented by his knowledge of the theater and the classic plays. The advertising copywriter would be lost without a solid background in English. And then there are the engineers, experts in advanced electronics. The lighting men and technical directors who need to know optics, the behavior of light, and the characteristics of lenses. The audio engineers who must know acoustics. The designers who make the scenery and the sets. The foreign language training the announcers and musicians must have. Just think of the importance of language training to the people who are in the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, to the correspondents in overseas bureaus of ABC, NBC, and CBS. As the world shrinks before the swiftly expanding fields of communication and transportation, the study of a foreign language becomes more and more important. And then there's the business side of broadcasting. The audience measurement survey companies leaning heavily on math and statistics. The time salesman who depends on his knowledge of psychology. And the executive personnel who need to know a little of everything. No field is an exception. This physiotherapist must study in college biology, chemistry, physics, anatomy, and physiology. He must be able to read and to write clear, accurate reports. He must understand the social background and the psychological problems of his patients. He must have a broad background. The physical education teacher also must take zoology, anatomy, and physiology. He must know his English and his history. So you see, no matter what your field, you'll get a head start in your race to enter college if you take the proper high school courses now. One state requires its elementary school teachers to complete 2 years of high school science to be admitted to Teachers College. Now it won't be long before you've reached that first goal you've set for yourself, high school graduation. You'll be ready to move up to college if you have taken the courses the college admissions people will be looking for. With the proper subjects behind you, that diploma is the key to the closing college door. But don't think it's just a moneymaker. Your college education is designed to make you a leader with responsibilities that go with a college degree. You assume obligations to all these thousands of co-workers in society. Will you be able to lead? Will you assume the responsibilities of big business? Whether in the armed forces or as a scientist behind the scenes, will you really produce when the chips are down? Will you benefit mankind? Will you make the world any better? Our system of laws with justice for all is a system which needs the protection that a well-informed people can give it. And the colleges are aiming toward making each graduate a responsible citizen, a citizen who is well-equipped to earn a better-than-average income. In private business or public service, our colleges want to turn out a person who can make sound decisions. It won't be long before you mail in that application for admission. Will you have those turned down? Or will you be admitted but have to take so many elementary courses that you only get 3 years of college education in 4 years? Or will you graduate from college knowing that you got the most for your time and every dollar of tuition you paid? Right now is the time to think about your future. If you're headed in this direction, take a good close look at your high school curriculum. Make sure it's getting you started right for college.